I've played more than a few hours of Grounded 2 already, and I've got some sage advice for you. We're going to start with a couple of tips that are for complete newbies, and then getting more advanced and more Grounded 2 specific as we go. So let's dig in. Just like the first game, Grounded 2 strongly encourages players to be a Peeping Tom, or a Peeping Willow, or a Peeping Hoops, or whatever the case may be. And it's easy, really. You just press Y. And not only does the peeping mechanic involve an adorable pretend binoculars animation, it provides you with the creature card for any critter that you peep. And that'll let you know their weaknesses, their resistances, and what they drop. So it's absolutely invaluable information when you're grinding for a particular resource or if you're struggling against a particular bug. I tried it out on Bex, and it turns out that her weaknesses include people staring at me through pretend binoculars, which makes her a bit mad, actually.
Stop doing it.
The resource analyzer is also back from the first game, and it works exactly the same. So for newcomers, if you didn't know, you just scan a resource and that magic machine tells you what you can make with it. Plus, doing both of these things get you raw science, which is Grounded's version of XP, which further unlocks more things that you can craft and the bigger beasties that you can take down. Really simple. And again, like in the first one, hunger and thirst mechanics are back. There's food everywhere for those with hungry eyes, and you can get some from killing bugs, but be very careful, because if you've got it tucked away safely in a storage box, or maybe you've got it ready to snack on in your inventory, you have to remember that food will go bad eventually. The clock is always ticking, so make sure you take that into account when you're embarking on an adventure. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself very, very hungry. Eventually, you'll be able to dry certain foods by building a drying rack, which I definitely recommend. It makes them last even longer. But if you're in a real pinch for foods, you should head to the snack bench, because there's donuts and hot dog chunks everywhere. If you cut your teeth on the first Grounded game, then you'll probably be well familiar with milk molars, which are the collectible that you use to raise your character's base stats. And they make a return in Grounded 2, and how you spend them is obviously up to you, but it can be a good idea to focus on stamina first, so that you can keep blocking, parrying, and dodging as you get to grips with the new and improved combat system. And if you do find yourself getting overwhelmed by an enemy, well, stamina helps you run much further away. So get yourself some stamina first, and then focus on things like health and mutation slots afterwards. Okay, here's something that OG Grounded players are going to need to know as well. It's the new and improved combat system. It's not just you who has one though. Your enemies have also learned a whole bunch of new moves that will make them much trickier to take down. For example, enemies like red ants can now block by tilting their little heads to the side. And to break their guards, you're just going to need to charge up an attack by holding down right trigger. Just make sure you're ready to hit B and roll to safety if it looks like they're going to land a shot on you first. If you hit them with a charged attack though, and you see some purple lines coming off of it, that means that you've broken the block, and now you can get to wailing on them. But all you have to do now is figure out how to defeat all the other bugs in the park, which all have their own like attack patterns and different weaknesses. So remember, peepers. With so many threats creeping around Brook Hollow Park, it's tempting to put up some walls right away, but you're actually better waiting a little bit before building your very first base, because there's a pre-built one that's just basically waiting for you. In the very early game, you actually get directed to a relatively safe spot, which has a ranger station and resource analyzer already there behind closed doors. It's where you find the first Omni tool, if that helps. More on that later, by the way. Just look for a little cocktail umbrella, okay? When you are ready to start building though, do what we did and make it essentially just an extension of this area that's near the blast doors. Because those two computers inside and the comms desk are all really important as you build up your brain power and getting more building recipes. And once you are ready to go out adventuring into the wide, wide park, our advice is actually just to find a spot in the middle of the map so that you can easily access other biomes. And you'll also probably want to wait until you snag yourself a buggy, but we'll get to that in just a minute. Archetypes are a brand new feature in Grounded 2, which basically function like classes, allowing you to build your character to suit a specific playstyle, and whether that means fighting from afar as a ranger, duking it out up close from the shadows as a rogue, using status effects as a mage, or soaking up damage like a good old tank. The cool thing is that archetypes are actually pretty open. It's not like in, I don't know, Diablo, where you pick a class at the start and that's it for the whole thing. You can switch archetypes whenever you want to whatever character you're playing as. And as you unlock mutations, which provide all sorts of active and passive bonuses, you can spec into whatever archetype you like, experimenting and building your playstyle out as you go. And you can switch these out on the fly too. These mutations and their archetypes are then complemented by specific armor and weapons. For example, rogues, they get bonuses with daggers, and mages get staves, but you don't have to worry about unlocking that until a little later in the game, so don't worry about it. So yeah, don't sweat this decision, because you're not going to find yourself locked out of certain weapons or strategies 40 hours from now just because you chose the wrong archetype. Plus, you can have 4 different mutation loadouts saved too, so you can experiment with your favorites and then just save them for later. With that in mind, what playstyle are you considering for Grounded 2? Hit the comments, let me know. Now, some people have a hard time finding something to wear that's really them, and there's no shame in that, but it is important to pick the right armor for your playstyle in Grounded 2. There are 10 new armor sets in Grounded 2, and certain types of armor now boost certain archetypes. Rogues love red ant stuff, while rangers, they're all about the grub goggles, for example. And while you're tooling around the armor crafting menu, you'll also spot some trinkets that can buff your chosen archetype. So, get your archetype, armor, and trinkets aligned, and your chances of survival shoot right up. But I also won't judge you if you just pick the stuff you think looks nice. Probably. Reddit might though. There's nothing that I love more than a good gadget, and Grounded 2's Omni tool is an absolute banger and quite literally a game changer. Gone are the days of wasting my backpack space carrying around an axe, shovel, hammer, and a wrench, or just wasting time even switching between them. It's all in one now. However, you do have to unlock each configuration, and it's actually a really good idea to prioritize getting the shovel nice and early, because that's basically the only way to dig up grubs, which are vital components in a lot of structures and items. And I probably don't need to tell you to get yourself a buggy. I mean, of course, you're going to get yourself a buggy. Ever since you first saw the Grounded 2 reveal trailer, you've been planning to get yourself a buggy, but I'm still going to emphasize the fact you should really get yourself a buggy, mate. Buggies aren't just good for getting around fast, they also make gathering resources so much easier. Red ants can carry 12 grass planks at a time, and there's a gather mode that lets your buggy automatically hoover stuff up into its own inventory as you ride around, which makes the whole process so much easier. The quickest way to get a buggy is just by following the main quest line until you unlock the hatchery and are sent to grab a red ant soldier egg. Be warned though, because this mission gets pretty tasty, so you're going to want to craft yourself some armor or a bow before taking them on, rather than just charging in there and poking stuff with a spear. And you might want to wait until you crafted a canteen, so you can carry 2 water drops with you. And also you should probably make sure you got enough food and torches to survive those underground layers. And if you want more Grounded 2 tips, drop us a follow. But no, seriously, it's fine. You're going to be fine. But there's also an orb weaver spider buggy too that we haven't got our mitts on quite yet, but I hear that it's much better for combat than it is for resources, which sounds great. Now, whether or not you intend to become a professional scorpion botherer, it's a good idea to craft a bow as soon as you can for all the obvious reasons that we love having bows in games. It lets you attack from a safe distance, it allows you to mix things up in combat, is ideal for airborne targets, and makes you feel like Legolas. Brilliant. The recipe for the very first bow that you can craft is 3 sprigs, 4 gnat fuzz, and 2 crude rope. And the best place to grab that sort of stuff in the early game is close by the Ranger Outpost snack bar, where you'll find a small pond with a couple of gnats that are waiting to give you their fuzz. Aren't you lucky? Finally, I know we've all been dreaming about squaring off with those scorpions since Obsidian first showed them off, but I learned the hard way that you really are better off leaving them alone until you're well kitted out and confident with the new combat system. Once you've got a red ant soldier buggy, it's really tempting to go just storming in there, especially once you realize that you can actually recruit a bunch of other red ants to follow along and fight alongside you. But the scorpions are going to deal major damage to both you and your buggy buddies, so hold off until you're definitely ready. And if they try to convince you to give them a ride across a river on your back, don't fall for it. That's how you end up in a parable. Grounded 2 is just getting started, to be fair, and so are we. So for more survival tips and for new content tip-offs, make sure you subscribe to us, and we'll see you out there in the park. Bye!